Hello, I'm glad to see you in the VNA Bulletin. I'm Ngọc from Hanoi and now the headlines.
The 29th Diplomatic Conference kicks off in Hanoi. Vietnam tops Financial Times FDI Performance Index. Vietnam finishes at 48th place in Olympic Rio 2016.
The 29th Diplomatic Conference opened in Hanoi on August 22nd with the aim of seeking measures to increase the efficiency of external activities and international integration to successfully realize the 12th National Party Congress resolution. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng attended and delivered a speech at the event.
At the opening ceremony, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Phạm Bình Minh said that the sector's main tasks are to maintain a peaceful and stable environment and take advantage of external resources to boost national development, safeguard national independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, as well as increasing the country's position and prestige in the international arena. The conference will review the diplomatic work over the past 5 years and the 2-year implementation of the 20th Conference Action Program and propose measures to effectively use tools of diplomacy so as to promote sustainable development and consolidate Vietnam's position in the global production and supply chains. Addressing the event, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng stressed that the external work is a motivation to realize Vietnam's 2 strategic missions in building and safeguarding the nation. The leader suggested the diplomatic sector prioritize forecasting and providing updated information about short-term and long-term development of the regional and world economies to help Vietnamese leaders in managing the domestic economy. He emphasized the need to have a thorough grasp of leaders' directions on the relationship between cooperation and fighting to safeguard the country's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity.
Also on August 22nd, Prime Minister Wilsonville had a working session with leaders of the Vietnam Association of Former Voluntary Youths. More details in the following report. At the working session, Prime Minister Phuc said the party, state and people always bear in mind the great services by the voluntary youth force to the cause of national liberation and reunification. The government has issued a lot of policies in support of former voluntary youths, including those on monthly allowance. Currently, the government is collecting ideas and suggestions from ministries and agencies to make amendments and provisions to the ordinance on preferential treatments to contributors to the revolutionary cause. Prime Minister Phuc said the Ministry of Labour, Invalids and Social Affairs was assigned to deal with all policies towards former voluntary youths in a transparent and open manner. Over different stages, the country had 500,000 male and female voluntary youths operating in battlefields and key locations, of whom over 10,400 laid down their lives, almost 46,000 people were wounded, and more than 13,400 others were exposed to Agent Orange dioxin. The marine environment in the coastal areas of the 4 central provinces stretching from Hà Tĩnh to Thừa Thiên Huế is basically safe. This information was released by Minister of Environment and Natural Resources Trần Hồng Hà at a conference in central Quảng Trị province on August 22nd.
Following the massive fish deaths in the central region's coastal areas in April, the government assigned scientists and relevant agencies to monitor and determine the level of pollution and marine ecological degradation. Has said the results of the report are correct and honest and in line with Vietnam's and international quality standards. The contents of iron, phenol, and cyanide in seawater are mostly within allowable limits. The ecological system and marine resources in affected areas have shown positive signs of recovery, while the tests on seafood samples revealed reduction in the content of pollutants. In the near future, the Health Ministry will partner with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to monitor fishing in already determined safe waters. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment will also continue closely monitoring waste discharge by Formosa Hà-Tĩnh, as well as other industrial projects, production, business and service establishments in coastal areas, build a high-tech database on supervising and warning of sea environment pollution, while mobilizing public involvement in the effort. In late June, Formosa Hà-Tĩnh accepted responsibility for the mass fish deaths. The company pledged to compensate over 11.5 trillion Vietnam dong, equivalent to $500 million, which will be used to support local fishermen in changing their jobs and recover the polluted maritime environment.
Surpassing 13 emerging markets, Vietnam has come first in the Greenfield Foreign Direct Investment Index, published as part of an annual study of the FDI Intelligence, a data division of the Financial Times.
This is the second time in a row Vietnam has gained the position in the FDI Intelligence list. Two other Southeast Asian markets ranked in the list are Malaysia and Thailand. The FDI Intelligence study looked at inbound greenfield investment in 2015 in relation to the size of each economy. Vietnam scored 6.45 in the index, followed by Hungary and Romania. Malaysia and Thailand saw their points reaching 2.86 and 2.43 respectively. A recent report from the UN Trade and Development Body noticed a growing interest from investors in emerging markets in Asia. Out of $765 billion invested in developing countries in 2015, $541 billion were channeled into emerging markets in Asia, particularly Vietnam, Myanmar, and India.
Seafood exporters and producers have asked relevant ministries to work with Chinese counterparts to remove bottlenecks in exporting aquatic produce to China, which has recently raised technical barriers to some products from Vietnam.
The Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers (VASEP) said aquatic shipments to China, a key export market of Vietnam, have encountered some problems. For example, China has required factories which want to ship their processed aquatic products into the country to have export code numbers, and exporters must be approved by China. Meanwhile, according to the regulations of Vietnam's National Agroforestry Fisheries Quality Assurance Department, producers only need to be recognized as eligible to export to China in order to trade. Amid the surge in purchasing Vietnamese seafood by Chinese importers, China's authorized agencies have also required health certificates issued by Vietnamese competent bodies for aquatic products from Vietnam. As a result, many Chinese businesses have stopped or reduced their purchases. VASEP asked the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and the Ministry of Industry and Trade to work with Chinese authorized agencies to clarify the country's requirement for export codes and increase the number of Vietnam's aquatic products allowed to enter China. The association has also called on the government and the two ministries to address technical barriers and troublesome administrative procedures. Vietnam's aquatic shipments to China reached $384.3 million in the first half of 2016, a year-on-year rise of 42.8%. The figure included $217.43 million worth of shrimp and $117.03 million worth of shellfish, up 41.8% and 66.7% from a year earlier, respectively. Meanwhile, the country spent $32.14 million on importing aquatic products from China, rising by 16.2% from a year before.
Forbes magazine has run an article saying that Vietnam needs to increase its funding for promoting tourism to realize its target of doubling the figures for international tourists as well as revenue by 2020.
According to the magazine, Vietnam's annual tourism promotion budget of only $2 million is outspent by around dozens of times in comparison with other Southeast Asian nations. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism has put forward a proposal to increase the budget to around $5.25 million and also to establish a fund for tourism promotion with a principal investment of about $13 million. Forbes said the amount is still fairly small, particularly given the ambitions for the tourism industry to double the number of international arrivals and revenue generated by tourism by 2020 from the level of 7.9 million arrivals and $15.1 billion in 2015. The article also pointed to a shortcoming in the intention of drawing 70% of the investment from the beneficiaries of tourism, such as licensed tourism operators and hotels. If it takes the form of an additional levy on top of taxable income, it could drag down growth in the sector and overlooks the broader benefits to the economy of increased tourism. The magazine highlights the challenges facing Vietnam in developing tourism, including improving its infrastructure, upskilling its workforce, and providing an international level of facilities and service. Issues around personal security, traffic congestion and accidents, pollution and poor services and facilities are the most commonly cited concerns. Forbes suggests Vietnam encourage investment in infrastructure and tourism staff training in order to lure more international tourists back to Vietnam.
Olympic Rio 2016 officially closed in Brazil on August 22nd morning Hanoi time after 16 days of competition. With 1 gold and 1 silver, both won by marksman Wilsonville, Vietnam finished at 40th in the medal tally.
This is the best ever ranking at an Olympic Games Vietnam has achieved since the country first took part in the world's biggest sport event in 1952. Besides Vietnam, only 3 other countries in Southeast Asia won gold medals at the Games, which are Thailand with 2 golds, 2 silvers and 2 bronzes, Indonesia 1 gold and 2 silvers, and Singapore 1 gold. Malaysia brought home 4 silvers and 1 bronze, and the Philippines got only 1 silver medal. The U.S. topped the medal tally with 46 golds, 37 silvers and 38 bronzes. The host country, Brazil, stood at 13th place. The Rio Olympic Games, the first held in a South American country, saw the participation of 207 countries and territories. Japan will host the next Olympic Games in 2020.
A ceremony was held to attack nameplates in Vietnamese Pho Phuc and Tử Tế Pagodas of Vietnamese people in Bangkok, Thailand. Let's join us to take a look.
Pho Phuc Pagoda is the headquarters of An Nam Nikaya, the Vietnam Buddhist branch in Thailand, while Tử Tế Pagoda is associated with the time the late President Ho Chi Minh lived and worked in Thailand in the early 20th century. They are among the oldest Vietnamese pagodas in Thailand. Previously, on an official visit to Thailand, Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Đức Đam and the Bangkok authorities attached the Vietnamese nameplate for Khánh Văn Pagoda, which was built by overseas Vietnamese in Thailand in the 18th century. There are approximately 20 pagodas in Vietnamese origin in Thailand, the most in any country. They have contributed to preserving the culture and traditional spiritual values of Vietnamese people residing in Thailand.
And that has wrapped up our news bulletin. Thanks for watching and see you next time.